Buyers, I see you. I feel for you. The market is really tough right now. It's an incredibly strong seller's market, which means, in the simplest of terms, that inventory is limited, there's not much for sale, there are a ton of buyers out there that you have to compete against, and home prices are rising. So if you're feeling a bit like it's the Hunger Games for home buyers out there, what can you do to get an accepted offer? Stay tuned for my top 10 tips on how to buy a house in a seller's market and how to stand out and win the bidding war. Stay until the very end to find out what commonly given piece of advice I think may be more risk and liability than it's worth. Hey, high roller! Why do people always say cash is king? Sellers love cash offers because that's usually meaning that they won't have an appraisal, so they don't need to worry about the home not appraising for the purchase price. Sometimes cash offers mean a quicker closing too, although keep in mind it's not going to speed up the legal work necessary to close on the house. You still have to get in line with the attorney to update that title and abstract. So just because you're a cash buyer does not mean that a seller is going to trip over himself or herself to entertain your lowball offer just because it's cash when they have more attractive offers coming from financed buyers. When the seller sits down at that closing table, they are going to get cash proceeds from the buyer no matter what. If you're using financing to make the purchase, make sure your lender is local. I just wrote an offer for a client last night, and our original offer was accompanied by an out-of-state lender. I know. I encouraged my buyers to talk with a local lender, and they did. They really liked what she had to say, and then when I forwarded that new pre-approval letter from the local lender to the listing agent, she let me know that the sellers were incredibly hesitant to accept that offer with the out-of-state lender, especially because our market is so hot and they knew another offer was coming along in just a day or two. Guess who ended up getting that house? Using an out-of-town or internet lender puts you at a disadvantage, plain and simple. Think twice before making your offer subject to the sale of your current home. Look, I get it. Not everybody can qualify to carry 2 mortgages at once, nor do they even want to risk it. However, when you are trying to buy in a highly competitive market, you are setting yourself up for disappointment if you include a subject to sale contingency with your offer. Sellers are unlikely to entertain such offers, and even if they do and you manage to get it accepted, chances are likely that another buyer will come along, write an offer the sellers want to accept, and that will then trigger your 48-hour clause, forcing you into action. Either qualify for the bridge loan or show up with a windfall of cash enabling you to release the contingency, or get gone and you're not buying the house. Nobody wants to make multiple moves, but if you must sell in order to buy, you need to consider selling your home before you find your next place and move into a short-term rental. That way, you can write up an offer that is not subject to the sale of your current home. Money matters most of the time. While I love to get my clients a good deal, the reality of today's market may be that you need to shift your mindset from how low can I go to how much over list price should I offer. If you're finding that houses in your area are frequently going for over list price, you may want to shop a bit under your max budget in order to give yourself the flexibility to offer over list price. But if you are going to be offering over list price, be prepared to walk the walk and not just talk the talk. What I mean by that is, are you financially able and willing to cover an appraisal gap? If the house does not appraise for the purchase price, will you cover the difference? If so, make it officially part of your offer. Work with a realtor who's on it like Blue Bonnet. Your opportunity to view and write an offer sometimes comes down to who gets you into the house the soonest. If you want an early bird look at properties before they hit the open market, You have to be strategic. If your realtor works for a larger brokerage, they're going to know more about many listings a few days early because of their fellow in-house brokerage agents who often put a word out on their private communication channels. Why should you love this opportunity to get an early bird look? Because it means less competition for you. Hey, there's nothing wrong with agents who work at smaller brokerages, but they will not have access to the knowledge about the same number of upcoming listings as an agent who works at a larger brokerage. Make your offer as easy for the seller to accept as possible. Don't ask for seller concessions. I know you're going to want to shoot me for saying that. If you're going to ask the seller for a seller concession to help with buyer closing costs, be prepared to roll that amount into your offer price. But know that this may throw up a red flag for the seller to think that you don't have as much cash on hand as you really need. Keep your contingency deadlines as short as possible. Also, don't throw on extra requests that don't really make it or break it for you, such as asking for the carpet to be professionally cleaned or a painting allowance. Is it worth losing out on the house over something that's not that important? Once I had a buyer lose a house over their request that a tree that was growing right up against the garage and kind of heaving up the driveway be removed. The sellers thought that seemed like a pain in the butt and an unnecessary expense, and as a result, they decided to go with a different offer, and my buyers didn't get the house. Consider waiving certain contingencies. Talk with your lender to find out if you can waive your appraisal if you've got at least 20% down. Okay, proceed with caution on this next one. Consider waiving house inspections or stating that the house inspections are for informational purposes only, meaning that you will not ask the seller to remedy anything because you're offering to buy the house as is. I generally don't recommend waiving all inspections to most buyers unless they are extremely experienced in spotting major issues and they're financially prepared to fix problems once they're the owner, or maybe if that buyer has a major renovation planned anyway, so the current condition of the house isn't the primary concern. For most people, a home purchase is the largest financial transaction of their life, and it's just too big of a risk to purchase without having a qualified home inspector take a look and let you know if the house is in the condition you expect it to be in terms of major mechanical items, health and safety issues, and structural items. So if you're not comfortable completely letting go of your home inspections, but you want to let the seller know that your intention is not to nickel and dime them to death, you could always set a threshold, which means that you let the seller know that you are not going to ask for any repairs unless they exceed the amount of your threshold trigger number. For example, $3,000. Have your agent find out exactly what the sellers want rather than blindly throwing darts at the wall. If you know what the seller's desired terms are, you can get as close as possible to them. It's not always only about the money. Other things matter too. A few examples are the closing date or a possible rent back to allow the seller more time to transition into their next home. Show the seriousness of your offer with your earnest money. Ask your agent what a normal amount of earnest money in your market looks like. Here in the Iowa City area where I practice real estate, I typically like to see at least 1% when I'm representing a seller. If you're serious about your interest in a house and you're trying to find ways to impress the seller, offering more earnest money is a great option. It's your skin in the game. A seller will see that someone is far less likely to walk away from, say, $6,000 as they are from $3,000. Mind your manners. Many homes have interior security, which means that the seller could be listening to and or watching you during your showing. So keep any criticism about the house unspoken until you leave. Offending the seller is not going to win you brownie points in a competitive market. Consider an escalation clause. There are pros and cons to this approach, so be sure to talk it out with your agent. But basically what it means is that you will pay X amount over the highest offer, capping at a certain dollar amount, and you state what those amounts are. On the plus side, an escalation clause can push your offer just a smidge over your closest competitor, potentially making you the winner in terms of offer price. On the negative side, the seller may feel that you're playing games and just want you to make your best offer up front. And now for my bonus tip about a certain tactic to be leery of. You'll hear agents all over the place recommend that you write a seller love letter about yourself and what you love about the house. In fact, I used to recommend this as a potential strategy, but I have changed my stance on it, and here's why. The purpose of a love letter is to grease the wheels, to get the seller all up in his or her emotions about selling their home and tie them to the idea of wanting you to be the next owner. After all, that word picture you painted in your letter about imagining your children running down the curved staircase to the Christmas tree on Christmas morning or hunting Easter eggs in the backyard is potentially going to appeal to a seller who also raised his or her own children in the house. The problem with this tactic is that it opens up agents and their sellers to liability in terms of violating federal fair housing law. The Federal Fair Housing Act makes it illegal for home sellers, real estate agents, and other housing-related service providers to discriminate on the basis of race, color, national origin, religion, sex, family status, or disability. Individual states may have additional protected classes of people, such as age, gender identity, sexual orientation, and military status. Often those letters reveal details about you to the seller, which are protected characteristics, which could lead the seller to accept or reject an offer knowingly or through unconscious bias. Rather than risk opening up a can of worms for everybody involved, why not just write a super solid offer and let it stand on its own merits of price and terms? There's nothing wrong with a stone cold solid offer. If you're interested in more about what I have to say in regards to real estate, you should click subscribe and hit the like button. I would love to hear your ideas about how to win in competitive real estate markets and multiple offer situations, and I bet my viewers would too. So do me a favor and leave me a comment down below. If you want more content all about buying a home, you should check out some of my other videos by clicking on one of these cards up above. Hey, it's been fun, and I'll see you later.